ZipRecruiter.com/free.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Life is a journey, and the Doherty Family College will help you get where you want to go. Located downtown Minneapolis, this affordable 2-year college provides free textbooks, a laptop, meals, career coaches, one-on-one mentorship, and a Metro Transit pass, making DFC the perfect pathway to a bachelor's degree. Turn your dreams into reality. Connect with a counselor today at dfc.stthomas.edu.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Hey, Ogimaa, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lulia. Overnight tonight, clear skies with a low of 57, then sunshine on Wednesday and a high of 71. Hazel's Northeast is now open Tuesdays through Sundays, offering the most creative comfort food you'll find. They're at 29th and Johnson in Minneapolis, just minutes from 35W. More at hazelsne2go.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hitting cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakunjahade, which means distant thunder. My colonized name is Robert Pilot, and we discuss local and national Native issues. And as you all know, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. Call them at 651-304-9986. They're open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., and they can answer all your COVID-19 questions.
Wow, a busy day here, Wendy. Good to see you. I haven't seen you all day, and great to have Lewis aboard. What have you been doing all day?
I took the dogs for a walk.
That's good.
I had to get my eyes checked.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
how are they?
They're thankfully very healthy, although I need, every year I go, I need a stronger prescription and a stronger prescription and a stronger prescription. But, we said it's just normal wear and tear, and, I'm getting up there. So what are you going to do?
Yeah, what are you going to do? Hey, we talk about Native issues and news, and we're one of the few radio shows across Turtle Island here on the radio to do that. And why don't we hand it over to Lewis with with the Native News. Welcome, Lewis.
Thank you so much, Robert and Wendy. And shout out to Ogimaa Giniw Ikwe, our Red Lake Nation news person that's unable to be here. We really miss her being part of this segment. And thank you so much for allowing me to do this segment in your absence. We'll get right to the news here for October 5th, 2021. From October 11th to the 15th, thousands of people will take action at the White House, participating in civil disobedience and demand that President Biden choose a side, people versus fossil fuels. Demands for President Biden at this event include Demand 1. President Biden must stop approving fossil fuel projects and speed the end of fossil fuel era. He can do so by stopping all fossil fuel infrastructure projects, following through on his promise to ban federal fossil fuel leasing and drilling, and stop fossil fuel exports. The demand, too, is President Biden must declare a national climate emergency and launch a just renewable energy revolution. He can do this by signing an executive order declaring climate emergency under the National Emergencies Act, which unlocks unique statutory powers. These unlocked authorities will also allow him to immediately reinstate the crude oil export ban, direct the Secretary of Defense to redirect a portion of military spending to carry out a rapid construction program of renewable energy projects to meet a significant portion of the nation's power needs. Hopefully he gets Bob Blake from Red Lake involved in that. Invoke the Defense Production Act to prevent critical loan guarantees and ensure a comprehensive build-out of just renewable energy development that creates millions of good union jobs. And more so than anything, the attack on today's unions is apparent on both parties. The lineup of events for this weekend-long action includes Monday, October 11th, Indigenous-led action on Indigenous Peoples Day. October 12th, fossil fuels are driving the climate crisis. Climate chaos happening now. We need real solutions. And on the 15th, on Friday, we did not vote for fossil fuels, Youth-led Action Day. A report today from the Stop Line 3 encampment near Mississippi headwaters from the Indigenous Environmental Network is at Camp Firelight encampment. Rising groundwater levels reveal long-term devastation caused by the numerous frackouts at the Mississippi River by Enbridge's Hurry HHD drilling operations. The Army Corps of Engineers witnessed 2 unreported frackouts at this location on July 21st during a tour. Now, the entire easement on the east side is covered in drill fluids without any containment. Enbridge has a history of not reporting its accidents to the MPCA, DNR, EPA, or USACOE. A lot of acronyms there. October 3rd, local and water protectors gathered off Madeline Island, Wisconsin, and rallied to reject Enbridge's energy sponsorship of the 59th annual Bayfield Apple Festival. My God, they were going to try to sponsor an apple festival. Oil spills are happening throughout the United States, which induced weather and regular negligence on behalf of oil companies. Currently, satellite photos show what appears to be a mile-long oil slick near an offshore rig in the Gulf of Mexico after Hurricane Ida. According to aerial survey imagery released Wednesday of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and reviewed by the Associated Press. The government imagery, along with additional photos taken by the AP from helicopter Tuesday, also show Louisiana port facilities, oil refineries, and shipyards in the storm's path where the telltale rainbow sheen, typically of oil and fuel spills, is visible in the water of bays and bayous. Just environmental devastation, Robert.
It's sickening. And then also back up to your other story about Madeline Island. That's a sacred island, too, up in Lake Superior. And, it's good to see that group really try and shut down Enbridge. Really good news there.
And it's crazy because, even this weekend, we're getting new reports off the coast of California, Robert and Wendy, that roughly 126,000 gallons of heavy crude seeped into the ocean from a leaking pipeline. This was all over my Facebook, Robert. Huntington Beach over the weekend, splattering the beaches with black coastal fisheries in the area are closed to commercial and recreational fishing. And the governor, Gavin Newsom, declared a state of emergency late Monday. County prosecutors and federal agencies were considering charges and lawsuits in a huge oil spill. And where is CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News covering this thing? Nowhere to be found.
Yeah, we saw it on national news yesterday, but it was, I think it was just a little blurb, but everything is on a half-hour news cycle.
Yeah, exactly. It's terrible. I feel like after you just read that news, that we're being inundated with just oil all around us, and we can't get away from it, and it's just killing the environment and killing the wildlife, and it's devastating. It really is. People need to.
Wendy, it took them 12 hours before they reported to officials and notified the Sheen on the water coast of California. 12 hours it took them. And we talk about unregulated capitalism, and we talk about getting rid of the EPA and all these conservative talking points. Well, this is what happens, people. They don't report what the stuff they're doing to our environment 12 hours when it hits coastal territories. This is why we have a federal government. This is why we talk about the party of the people, Pilot's progressive talking points here. That's where I'm trying to go at.
Yeah, good one. Bring up that old show again. Hey, but yeah, the government should be taking care of libraries, street cleaning, and snow removal, and telling us what's going on and preserving our way of life. And really, we feel like the government's going against us. And 12 hours is a long time and a lot of oil. And it was
a lot of devastation could happen in 12 hours.
A lot of animals and a lot of
environment, the shoreline,
this is terrible.
Fishery. It's just devastating.
And you know how the news cycle runs, Wendy and Robert, is that it's in the news and then it's gone and then out of people's mind. Like, oh no, they cleaned it up. But you remember the BP oil spill? That still has ramifications today. This is going to have ramifications. Louisiana is going to have ramifications. After they're done reporting doesn't mean the news goes away. Those animals and those people are still being affected today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's totally interesting too. Great news. Lewis, I almost called you Ogimaa, but great news, Lewis. And I just got to say too, Lewis has a TikTok channel. He has many thousands and thousands of people listening to him, and we're blessed to have him on our show and every day. And thank you again, Peeny Gigi, for that. We're going to throw it out there. We're going to have a little gab session here. And we're going to end the show with some sacred animal news as we do.
Give the phone number so people could call in for
Right on. It's 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. And we'll call the segment Ask an Indian. We'll be right back after this short break.
Stay with us. If you're hurting in your relationship or have been affected by sexual violence, you're not alone. Strong Hearts Native Helpline can help you through these difficult and uncertain times. Strong Hearts Helpline is a free 24/7 confidential domestic dating and sexual violence helpline for Native Americans. Help is available by calling 1-844-762-8483 or by clicking on the Chat Now icon on strongheartshelpline.org. This message is sponsored by the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center.
When we heal from our traumas,
when we face our fears,
let go of our addictions,
when we relearn our values,
when we live our teachings,
respecting our elders,
cherishing and honoring our children,
when we honor and take care of our spirit,
there will be no room left for sexual violence.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, Ogimaa, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Hi, this is Representative Sharice Davids from Kansas. I'm Ho Chunk, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
We are Sioux Nation.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakunjahare. The cat really wanted my attention, Wendy.
Yeah, she did. Anybody watching us on Facebook, you could see the cat like clawing at Robert's arm here for attention. But this portion of the show is brought to you by MN 350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice.
I just wanted to do that once with you.
Exactly.
Hey, really busy day. We're selling T-shirts on our website saying I survived the 7-hour Facebook down. Sales aren't good though, but
can I just say something?
Yeah.
Okay. I just have to say this, in the newspapers and online all day, because Facebook was down for all those hours yesterday. And now there's this, big thing that this woman who worked for Facebook was on 60 Minutes, and she was a whistleblower, kind of giving all this information. And her big takeaway was that the corporations put profit over people. I want to know which corporation does not do that.
Yeah.
Like everybody. I'm not surprised that Facebook puts profits over people.
Well, I think that's a simple way of putting it, because they stopped their filters, and then I want to say resurrection, but that's not the right word. At the Capitol,
for the insurrection.
Everyone was on Facebook going, "Hey, I got a selfie here. I got a flag. Look at them breaking this," and now they're all getting arrested because of all their
video,
all their media and stuff, for sure. Yeah. Hey, I just want to give everyone else. Phone lines are filling up. Just kidding. 952-946-6205. If anyone can see my cat, she's really wants my attention, and she's just talking to me. But hey, today, with your support, I was able to, as a Ho-Chunk legislator, do some interesting stuff.
I am so proud, and I'm so happy that you were able to do this. And I just want to mention that today is World Animal Day.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about our sacred animals, but I'm so proud that Robert, as a Ho-Chunk legislator, was able to author a bill. Do you want to tell them what the bill is?
Well, basically, let me just give you a little back notice. The DNR of Ho-Chunk, they have their own DNR in Wisconsin. And so what do? They look over our properties in Ho-Chunk Nation, or whatever we own, and some of it is wild property, and they do some hunting on there, and they let people hunt on the they let the government do it, and they give us a little teeny tax break. And if you're hunting a deer, Wendy, you're going for the meat,
right?
You're eating this,
right?
But they drew the line. The DNR of Ho-Chunk Nation wanted my help, or any legislator's help, and I just happened to step in there and really believe in this, to make it where we are not dealing with the government, so we're affording some money back that we're going to owe the government, because we don't want people to hunt sacred wolves on our property.
That's wonderful. And as everybody knows, this November there will be another wolf hunt in Wisconsin, a mandatory wolf hunt, and that means that people killing wolves, they don't have to necessarily live in Wisconsin. They could come from anywhere in the United States and come to Wisconsin. That's what they did the last one in February, when they had the wolf hunt, and they obliterated the quota that they were supposed to have in like 2 days. They had to stop the wolf hunt. It was really terrible. But I'm really happy that Ho-Chunk is standing up and saying, no, you're not going to be able to hunt on this land during the wolf hunt. And you have to leave I want all the wolves to I want everybody to go out there and kind of scare the wolves into go into that land. Go into all the Ho-Chunk land where they will be protected during the wolf hunt in November. I mean, it's terrible. And these hunters come in with high-powered rifles. They use traps. They use whistles that mimic baby calls, so the female wolves come out to see what's going on, and they shoot them. They use dogs, chasing dogs. It's not even it's not even an ethical hunt. And there are some hunters out there that despise this type of hunting. They just do not believe it. This is typical trophy hunting at its best, and it's disgusting.
It's really disgusting.
Sorry,
go ahead.
I just want really quick to add that when do we stop calling it hunting and just call it predator behavior? Because that's exactly what it is. You go to Fleet Farm or one of these people, they got like deer pee and all this stuff they put on themselves. They sit up in a deer, like that's not hunting. That's you got a night scope, you got 2021 technology. These deers, what do they don't even see in color, right? I mean, and you got all those like microscopic sounds and GPS and drones. That's not hunting. That's not hunting anymore.
Right. Hey, if it was a sport, Lewis, the wolf would have a gun too and be able to shoot back. But it's not that, so I don't call it a sport.
Exactly.
But it was interesting, Wendy, too. Just with this new job I have, it was really for me. Well, two things I want to say. It was really exciting that the DNR of Ho-Chunk Nation brought that up, which was really exciting.
Yes.
And the second thing is, I know all this because of your sacred animal section. I mean, I'm learning all the time during the show too, Lewis.
Absolutely.
You too, Lewis.
Yeah, and shout out to Wendy Pilot here. Just time and time again, we talk about sacred animal news, and it's at the end of the show. But at the same time, it's just so impactful. We have people making comments about it. People mention to us. We go to Mendota, Migwakiton, Powell, the sacred animal news section. Oh my goodness! So it makes a difference, and more importantly, it informs us too. Because in Indian activism, we are surrounded, MMIW, line through all these things, and animal news is such a thing that we need to be a part of because we're centered in that. We have treaties with our animals, sacred treaties that go before the creation of the United States. So it's highly important to talk about these things and make that legislation. And we got video of your bill actually in action right there. There it is, and literally that's it being signed right there. So.
Oh, you got to get on Facebook and watch us live. As long as Facebook doesn't go down, it's pretty entertaining. And Lewis has all these little funny things. But I do want to just say this: Howling for Wolves.
Yes.
Today, just put this up 6 hours ago, and this is what they posted. Let me bring it up here. When the wolf recovery program was completed in Yellowstone, it cost over $117 million in taxpayer dollars. Today, wolves drive an estimated $35 million in revenue to the park and surrounding areas, with wolf watching alone bringing 4 times higher revenue than hunting. So people come from all over the world to see these beautiful animals. It becomes more obvious every day that the policy-making arms of the states in the Northern Rocky region are acting on behalf of smaller special interest groups and not the interest of the state. And here, this is another thing from Relist Wolves, and you could go on to hashtag Relist Wolves and please send your name. It'll go to President Biden. It'll go to Deb Haaland. And it says, every wolf in Yellowstone is exponentially worth more alive than dead economically, and will provide thrills for thousands year after year, as opposed to the single hunter or trapper who can kill 8 wolves and be left disappointed that he didn't fill his full 10 wolf quota. Do the math, analyze the contrast, and decide where your personal values come from. Yellowstone Wolf Watching Guide National. That's from the Yellowstone. But it's the same thing in Wisconsin. Let's stop killing these wolves.
When I was prepping up, you helped me a little bit too. And again, learning from you, Wendy. One of the things is, so there was 100 plus wolves that were murdered. And I do say murdered, and then there's going to be 180 some plus again. There's only 1,000, so it's going to go below 1,000, and they should be put on the endangered species list again, right?
We all know that Trump, when he left in January, that was the last hatchet that he closed, was to take the gray wolves off the endangered species list, and they need to be put back on. So we need to call on Deb Haaland. We need to call on President Biden to get these wolves put back on. Go ahead, Lewis.
No, I was going to have I was going to ask Lewis to remind our audience, which is really great to have Lewis here, to remind our audience about how sacred wolves are to our people. We always talk about Peggy Flanagan, our lieutenant governor, is in the Wolf Clan. Go ahead, Lewis.
Yeah, absolutely. We have 574 federally recognized tribes in the United States. We have thousands in Canada. When we talk about First Nations communities, Mesoamerica, over 60 indigenous languages still spoken today, Central and South America. The wolf is an integral part of not only creation stories among many, many tribes around Turtle Island, but also the identity of who we are and our clan-based systems. And, when we talk about the Anishinaabe, the Cree, Eastern Woodlands tribes, we talk about clans like the Wolf Clan. For my Lakota people, Shugamani Tutanka, what we call the wolf is sacred because we consider it an integral part of a lesson that we teach our kids. And our kids, when we teach them a lesson about family and what it's like to look after each other and walk together, when we move camps, Robert, from winter camp to summer camp to spring camp, we look at the wolf and how they move together. We leave no one behind. We don't leave any stragglers behind. We do that together. And that's the importance of why we're integral with the wolf, and the wolf is integral with us.
Yeah, wow, really great. And we as native people to this continent, to Turtle Island, we've been studying our relatives, the wolves, for thousands and thousands of years. So again, hey, give us a call, 952-946-6205. That's 952-946-6205, and give us a ring. We're going to talk a little bit more, and then we're going to wrap up the show with Wendy's Sacred Animal section. And as we do, it's great to be here. It's great to be alive. You're listening to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake.
Stay with us. Hey, Ogimaa, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Find a wide selection of outdoor hearth products at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces. Whether you prefer wood or gas, Woodland Stoves has the fire to fit your home. Pizza aficionados know nothing matches masonry oven baking for capturing flavor and nutrition. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces can easily install one in your home or business. Enthusiasts use these ovens year-round for bread making, wood roasting, even grilling.
The mission and passion of Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces is to make the fire work for you. The way humans relate to fire is primordial. We have used fire to warm our bodies, cook our meals, and kindle our spirits. Our team has the know-how to do this in a clean-burning and environmentally smart way. Visit our store and experience the diversity. We have over 35 working units on display at the corner of Riverside and East Franklin. See us online at woodlandstoves.com. Find the fire that fits and works for you.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
Now, more than ever, we are being faced daily with the topic of human mortality, and for many people, estate planning has been top of mind. Getting your estate planning done now can be easy and cost-effective. Schroman Law offers virtual options for initial consultations so that new clients can safely initiate the process. With many facing uncertain financial situations, Schroman Law also offers affordable fees for legal documents. Learn more at schromanlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
Hey, Wendy, what are we doing for dinner after the show?
How about we go to J. Selby's on 169 Victoria Street in St. Paul? They have a delicious plant-based menu that's compassionate and environmentally sustainable.
I'm getting their spot-on vegan Big Mac, the dirty secret.
You can pick up and they deliver within a 5-mile radius, or you can call them at 651-222-3263 or visit jselbys.com.
Well, you sold me one. Let's go order at J. Selby's tonight.
I'm hungry.
Hi, this is Desi Doyen of the Green News Report and the Bradcast. You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Hi, my name is Frank Brown, owner of Minuteman Press Uptown. We're not just another print shop. We give back to the community and stand up for racial, social, and economic justice. At Minuteman Press Uptown, we understand Black Lives Matter and know love is love. We're the only minority-owned and proud union shop in the state. We're community involved and have over 100 years of industry experience. We believe our employees are vital to our success. That's why we pay a living wage with benefits.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. I chose Minuteman Press because they match the values of our business. Their design team took our vision and idea and turned them into a beautiful, professional printed marketing piece on time as promised. They can help your business, nonprofit, or political campaign with printing, direct mail, signs, or other promotional needs that will help grow your organization. Call the printing company AM 950 Trust, Minuteman Press Uptown at 612-870-0777 or find them online at mpuptown.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lulia. Overnight tonight, clear skies with a low of 57, then sunshine on Wednesday and a high of 71. Getting your estate planning done with Schromen Law can be easy and cost-effective. Get started today at schromenlaw.com, SCHROMEN law.com.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio.
Oh, God bless you. Presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host right this very second, Wendy Pilot, also known as Hana Jihihani, which means cares for them. I was given that name by my Dega. God bless you, Robert.
I'm just blessed knowing you. Whoa, thank you.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition. They do really good work, so they're awesome. And I just want everyone to know, Robert, so when you brought that bill for the wolves not to be hunted on Ho-Chunk land, it was a unanimous vote to 13-0. So thank you, everybody who voted for our sacred animals. I really appreciate it.
And not to talk about our last vote, but just an example, it was 7-5 our last vote that we did. So that was big that they went 13-0 and everyone was like right on the same page.
I love that. I think that's great.
It's great because most of the legislators that I work with are from Wisconsin. There's only 4 from outline Wisconsin. So it's great to see that everyone of us natives are like-minded, even in a great nation like Ho-Chunk. It could be different in different places, but no, they're right on it.
That's awesome. Strong people.
Hey, why don't we, Lewis, why don't you open up a little bit here on the video you want to play and give us a little rundown and give us a minute or so of the video and
sure,
talk about it.
If it's not too much trouble, Robert, I just got breaking news from Cedar Avenue in Lake, the indigenous corridor. They moved Franklin Cedar homeless encampment just probably hours ago, and they moved them to different locations. And I got an update from Homeward Bound. I just thought I'd read a little bit. MIWRC were able to take 30 relatives to Avivo, took 6 to Tiny Village, 3 are placed in treatment, 2 to the shelter. So a lot of these over 50 clients are being taken care of coming from that homeless facility to different indigenous and non-indigenous led organizations. He wants to thank, this is Jace Rowe with Homeward Bound. He wants to thank AICDC, MIWRC, Avivo. Robert, you probably know these acronyms better than I do. St. Stephen's Homeless Shelter and other various agencies. Also, there's a women's camp on 32 in Bloomington for women in Two-Spirit that are also available. They did a lot of work there, over 50 clients, and I want to give a shout out to everyone involved with moving those relatives that law enforcement closed down that camp, Robert.
Yeah, big shout out to Jace Rowe, too, and all the people that he works with and works for him. Just to talk a little bit before we get going, Lewis, we have a homeless problem here in the Twin Cities, and we remember a few years ago we had the Wall of Forgotten Natives that was national news, where there was hundreds and hundreds of people that were there, and
right on Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis,
down the Native corridor. If you're listening in Madison and Chicago, that's where that is. Thanks for that update. And Lewis, do you mind doing a little intro to the video you're going to play? Because I saw this great ad, and I think it plays well just as sound. So give us a little intro of what you're about to play.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those that don't know, North Carolina is kind of a battle state. It went for Obama, went for Obama again. And I also believe it went for Biden, if I'm not mistaken. But there's a representative named Charles Graham that's running against a Republican named Dan Bishop. Dan Bishop, the same Dan Bishop that authored a bathroom bill that barred transgender students from using facilities for the gender that they identified with. And a little bit about Charles Graham. He's a Lumbee tribal citizen, and he's a Democrat running. And when he was a young boy in 1958, the KKK announced that there would be a cross burning in Robeson County, North Carolina, to scare and intimidate not only indigenous people, but also African-American people. The KKK gathered and advertised by Grand Dragon James W. Catfish Cole and an event to put Indians in their place and to end race mixing. And I think his campaign, Representative Graham, put a pretty cool video out here, and I want to play about a minute of it, if that's okay.
Yeah, rock on. Let's do it.
When I was a young boy, the KKK announced a night rally in my home county. A cross burning with hundreds of Klansmen to terrorize the blacks and Lumbee. We were a poor farming community, black, white, and Indian. My parents and grandparents were sharecroppers like many. The police chief warned the Grand Dragon, "These people don't want your trouble." The Klansmen called us mongrels, half-breeds, and told him the Klan would show him how to handle people like us. That night they rode in with their cars, their crosses, and a single light bulb hooked to a car battery. 50 Klansmen. Not a bad turnout on a cold night. Problem is, they were surrounded by 400 Lumbees. Simeon Oxendine had been a tail gunner in a B-29 during the war. Verdia Locklear was 4 months pregnant. Neil Lowry was the local barber. Hundreds of normal folks deciding to stand together against ignorance and hate. Lowry shot out the light. The Klansmen scattered. By the time the sheriff arrived to fish them out of the swamp, the press was running with the story. The Battle of Hayes Pond, where one town beat the Klan. A piece of forgotten history, worth remembering, especially today. In Washington, lies turn to violence. And the biggest lie is that America is at war with itself. That you can't trust your neighbor, that they want something that's yours, that you must live in fear of them. But the people who stood up at Hayes Pond refused to be afraid. I grew up with their story, and the lesson is human dignity is a human right.
Yeah, that's such a great and powerful powerful advertisement video there by Representative Graham's campaign.
It's history that I had no idea about, so thank you.
Yeah, and maybe one of these days we could talk about how the Klan started here. It's an amazing thing to move all those people, including Ho-Chunks, and of course Lakota Dakotas, out after what they like to call the Sioux Uprising, but what we like to call is like, eat this grass there, Mr. Store owner.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we think about, and I think this is a problem with colonized history and what we do in the K through 12 education is that we seem to pit that the Bible Belt or the South as being the racist. That's who we are. That's the racist people. But to be honest with you, we all have blood on our hands. All of us in the lower 48 plus Hawaii and Alaska. When you think about, there was literal indigenous people being hanged in Minnesota. They were hanged in North and South Carolina. There were lynchings going on all over the country, not just in the rural South. We're talking about the North. We're talking about Connecticut, even these, Northeast, prim and proper type of states. And the ethnic genocide of Dakota people here in Minnesota is a story that needs to be told more. Robert and Wendy.
What really always blows my mind is when we talk about, especially when we're tearing down a lot of statues, and the statues were put up in the 20s, not 1867 when 1865 when the Civil War ended, or a couple of years later, like 1867. This was the 20s. In the 20s, people were trying to make a point to African American and BIPOC people that, hey, look at this. Robert Lee was a good guy. He was, look at this guy. He looks gentle, and I mean, all these other people. I mean,
Mhm.
and in Columbus, they took down the Columbus statue at the Minnesota. I mean, all these things were put up in the 20s, Lewis.
Daughters of the Confederacy. That's who enacted this. And what it was is that it was a response to civil rights legislation and ending these racist laws. And this was literally an uprising because when we think about even the Confederate battle flag, the Confederate flag itself kind of look similar to the United States flag. But the Virginia battle flag is what we know as the Stars and Bars today. That was adopted after the Civil Rights era, after all this stuff, as a flag towards hate and violence towards not only African American people, but also indigenous people. And this still lives on today when we think about Mississippi and Alabama and all these other places. But yet again, you know what's funny, Robert? It's going to shock people, but I see these Confederate stickers on the back bumpers of cars up there in Lake Superior, Duluth, Hibbing, all these other northern state Minnesotas. We had nothing to do with the Confederacy, Robert.
Plus, it was like a 5-year war. It was way back then, and like you said, the flag was around for a couple of years. It's like, this is not like a Southern pride. This is white supremacy. Let's get real. And then the Tread on Me flag too. When did that was a cool flag at one time, but now that's like totally gone to the left field.
Yeah, and now what we're seeing is that these goofy Trumpsters, they are getting rid of their American flag and they're putting up a black flag and they're saying no quarter, right? And they're misinterpreting it, saying, we're not gonna back down. But no quarter literally means that we will kill people regardless if you come here in peace or not. That's exactly what that black flag means. It's an indoctrination in this post-Trump era, anti-vax era that we keep on battling here as normal people. And Wendy and Robert, it just seems like, I take off the sheen of everything else. And just as an average person, it's so sad to see other common Americans being hoodwinked by this propaganda time and time again. Anti-vax, people are against each other. We're all against each other. It is multi-million-dollar corporations that are literally backpedaling and all this stuff. And what we talked about last segment with Wendy, this sheen of like, oh, we care about the environment, Whole Foods and plastic, and paper straws. This is, when I worked in the advertising agency, that's brand protection. That's brand. That's all about protecting your brand. And brand is above people when it comes to corporations.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. I just want to go back really quickly, and I want to mention the book that I just finished reading. It's called How the Word is Passed, and it's written by Clint Smith, and it's a book about the reckoning of slavery, but he mentions indigenous people and Native American people throughout every chapter of his book. And he did say in one of the chapters that all of those statues of the Confederate soldiers were placed there in the 20s strategically to remind people that they need to stay in their place.
Right.
And that's why it was done. So if you get a chance, read it. It's called How the Word is Passed by Clint Smith.
And it comes all the way up to
unbelievable book.
George Floyd's murder, that book, right?
Yes. He talks about George Floyd. He talks about the pandemic. It's just recently been out. So check it out.
Wow, that's a good call.
Mm-hmm.
The desecration of 6 grandfathers, Shakpe Tunkashila, was Mount Rushmore. That was a desecration of another sacred place on indigenous people to erect, white people in the Black Hills. It's another type of statue. It's just sickening.
It is. Thanks, Lewis, for stepping in and helping us out and being, important clog in the Native Roots Radio jam. And really, it was great. We can always do a show with just us three. And up next, our Sacred Animals segment with Wendy.
Mm-hmm. Stay with us.
Unwanted sexting or photos, inappropriate jokes, even tickling or wrestling can feel like a violation. Catcalling, cornering, or groping, getting them drunk or high for sex, recording sexual acts without permission, hurting someone because of their sexual orientation, raping a family member, a child, a date, a friend, a stranger, purchasing a human being for sex. You make the choice every single time. Sexual violence is many things. Make a choice. Do not do it.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Hey, Wendy, what are we doing for dinner after the show?
How about we go to J. Selby's on 169 Victoria Street in St. Paul? They have a delicious plant-based menu that's compassionate and environmentally sustainable.
I'm getting their spot-on vegan Big Mac, the dirty secret.
You can pick up and they deliver within a 5-mile radius, or you can call them at 651-222-3263 or visit jselbys.com.
Well, you sold me, Wen. Let's go order at J. Selby's tonight.
I'm hungry.
You're listening to Native Roots Radio. This is Spirit from Reservation Dogs. Get up and listen.
Well, welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I always love hearing that, Wendy.
I do too. This portion of the show is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
That was a good one. Hey, I want to give a quick shout out to Shelly. She says, love this show. You're like family to me. Thank you. And Pinigigi for listening and feeling that way.
Everybody who listens is like family to us too. So that's awesome.
It's like the Olive Garden here, you know? You're like family. Remember that tagline?
No, I don't.
That's so funny.
But it'd be nice to get $5 from them or something. Or, the old days when I smoked, it'd be, hey, maybe you can borrow me a cig, but I don't smoke anymore.
No,
so, hey,
thank goodness for that.
I'm cutting into your time, and it's that day right now. Tell us what day it is.
Today is World Animal Day, and it's been posted all over the place with lots and lots of stories about animals. And I am a humane policy volunteer leader for the Humane Society of the United States. Excuse me. And I work on animal issues at the local and state level, and actually have a call tonight with HSUS at 7:00. So as soon as we cut out here, I have to get on another call, but that's our monthly call, and we just catch up on things that are happening in the animal world and how apropos to do that on World Animal Day.
Yeah.
I just wanted to quickly just reiterate what I did yesterday, and I called in. I wasn't on the show yesterday, but I was at the Blaine City Council. They had a workshop meeting, and what we wanted to do and what we're talking about is to have a humane policy, a bill that would stop the sale of dogs and cats in pet stores that are derived from puppy mills. And we were really disappointed yesterday about the Blaine City Council members. They really didn't get it. There is one store in Blaine that is notorious for getting their dogs, and I think they have cats as well, from these horrible puppy mills. That's where the animals are sourced. And as we all know, these places are horrible places for animals to be kept. They're kept in cages. They don't get out of the cage. They don't get to walk. They don't go to the vet. Our little Gracie was in a puppy mill. She's a little Maltese. She was in there for 7 years. She was kept in an indoor facility. Somebody came around and weekly just filled her automatic food and water dispensers, and that's how she lived her life for 7 years. Nobody held her. Nobody kissed her. Nobody talked to her. She didn't have a name. She didn't walk on grass. She had to tag around her neck with a number on it, and that's how she lived her life. And all her puppies went to these pet stores throughout the United States and sold online. And these were these puppies that people really want. They're very desirable. I mean, she's a Maltese. She doesn't shed. She's hypoallergenic, and people want these dogs, and they pay tons of money for these, specific dogs.
Hey, Wendy, I'm wondering too, before you get going any further, somebody wanted to know what the name of that book was again. I'm sorry.
The book, yes. How the Word is Passed. How the Word is Passed, and it's written by Clint Smith, and it's really just an unbelievable book. I've already found myself, since I finished reading it, referring back to it like 10 times. It's just really, it's very up to date. He also talks to a lot of people and has interviews with people to get all their different perspectives on all different types of, the Civil War, slavery, the Native American genocide, everything. It's really very, very, very good. So
yeah, I just wanted to get you to say that before. Sorry, go ahead.
Absolutely, no. Unfortunately, the Blaine City Council here in Minnesota wants to protect this one last business that's been here in business, and we'll see what happens. I don't know. If you live in Blaine or you know it's somebody who is in Blaine, you could ask them to please call their city council members. Maybe we have a little bit of a chance of doing this, but I don't think so. It doesn't look very good.
Hey, I knew you wanted to talk about something else too.
Well, I just wanted to bring up the fact that, again, today is World Animal Day. And, we talk about climate change and what's happening in the animal world. And I have an article here that popped up on my news feed, which I found really interesting. And it's called edition.pagessuite.com. This is an article written by David Abel, Globe staff. And he talks about what's happening right now in Massachusetts. Massachusetts state bird, the black-capped chickadee, is among sources of birds expected to disappear from parts of all of the state by 2050. And we talk about what's happening with global warming, and we keep talking about this year, 2050.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have to change stuff now so that we have our animals and we have our environment in 2050. But, 2050 is coming up quick. The North Atlantic right whale, which appears on some of the state's license plates, has been its population declined by a quarter over the past decade, and the dwindling number of bog turtles and squat reptile the size of a cell phone means only 65% adults are left in the state. All of them are threatened by climate change.
Yeah.
A landmark United Nations report in 2019 found that the loss of plant and animal species around the world will increase dramatically in the coming years at a rate unprecedented in human history, with as many as 1 million threatened with extinction. The danger of such steep loss of the planet's biodiversity was underscored last week when the federal government took a rare step of proposing to decline the ivory-billed woodpecker and 22 other species extinct. In the nearly 50 years since the Endangered Species Act became law, only 11 species have been declared extinct.
Jeez.
A controversial designation that means scientists have given up hope of finding any survivors. Now, with the growing backlog of animals and plants proposed for state and federal endangered species list, environmental advocates are urging the Biden administration to step up efforts to protect them.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we need to the pipeline. We need to talk to the Biden administration about stopping this pipeline.
Yeah.
It's 50 coal plants that's giving emissions. It's part of the global warming process here.
Exactly.
In the past, the biodiversity loss was mainly due to habitat loss from development, direct exploitation from hunting, and habitat degradation from the use of pesticides and invasive species, said Jeffrey Collins, Director of Conservation Science at Mass Audubon, which has urged state and federal officials to increase their budgets to protect endangered species because climate change is an overarching threat of even greater order of magnitude. So the climate change is even worse than habitat loss from development, direct exploitation of hunting, and habitat degradation from the use of pesticides and invasive species. Climate change is worse than all of those combined.
So let's not support these companies that are in support of climate change and all these things. It's crazy, Wendy. I really appreciate you bringing this up as always. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. One last sentence. More than 38,500 species around the world have been identified as at risk of extinction, nearly quadruple the number since 2000.
Wow. Thank you again, Peeny Gigi.
Mhm.
You know, I want to say Peeny Gigi for Lewis for bringing doing the news and just being part of the show. Couldn't do it without you, Lewis. Hope Ogimaa feels better, get well, or or come back soon. All right. Hey, I would like to end with these thoughts. If you're listening to the show, you are part of the resistance. From Chief Plenty Coops, the ground on which we stand on is sacred ground. It is the blood of our ancestors. We need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office. We're still here. We are the 7th generation.
Free Leonard Peltier. Stop line 3. Please get vaccinated.
Tune in for Philosophy Talk, the program that questions everything
Except your intelligence.